Mr. Chairman.
Sorry about that.
I'll call this Board of Supervisor meeting to order with the school board.
I'm going to start with our pledge. If you'd rise, please. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. I'll make a motion. We adopt the agenda for the school board. Is there a second? I have a second from Mr. Rubin. Is there any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, no? It's ordered.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, I would like to make an amendment to our agenda if I could, and make a motion to add this resolution, add an agenda item, a resolution by the Board of Supervisors of Rappahannock County opposing the mandatory collective bargaining legislation, and if we could add that,
Where's a good spot?
Probably
that's what I'm
probably
looking-
action.
where is that
Action
good
items.
spot?
Action items, correct.
Perfect.
Where?
Under
6.2.
action
Under
items.
6.2.
6.2.
That sounds good. That's my motion.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
Good. Schneider Electric came and briefed the school board. Was that last week?
Yes.
Yeah, and so we wanted the entire forum to be able to hear the same presentation, to know one of the things that we are considering engaging in the future. So.
Hi, good evening. Thank you all so much for having us out again. And for those who don't know us, my name's Abby Weigel, and this is Bunty Ramsey. We've been working with Rappahannock County Public Schools for a couple of months now, after you all worked collectively together to get an HVAC study done on the facility, to build a little bit more on that process and show you what a comprehensive project could look like in the future to help you tackle some deferred maintenance and proceed with the wonderful upkeeping of your facilities. So we'll be talking through what our report looks like for you today and concluding with some potential next steps. So we'll go through some goals of the project that we work to build. Can you all hear me okay? I want to make sure the mic's working. Okay. With the staff.
Can everyone hear okay? Hard to hear? Abby, can you make sure that you pull that thing down? Is it,
Is this better?
And speak nice and loud.
can you try again?
How's this?
Better?
Better? Okay. I have a soft voice, so
Good.
I'll work on it.
Good.
But yeah, we'll be going through some of the goals that we've established with the staff at the schools, as well as recapping the current state of your facilities before getting into potential solutions, talking through our process, stuff like that. So to start, we wanted to talk a little bit about, what we've come to understand about Rappahannock County Public Schools. So for us, we are a design build firm, which basically means we pride ourselves on being a long-term partner to our clients in our school divisions and counties that we work with. So all the way from idea conception through implementation into guarantee, which means we're trying to make, more than just a project happen, but something impactful for your division and your locality. And so when we were talking with Robin, with Dr. Grimsley, with multiple members of your staff, these are the three goals that we associated with what a project would potentially look like. So the first goal is to tackle deferred maintenance. As you all know from the HVAC study that was performed several months ago, there is a decent amount of mechanical work that needs to be done across your facilities in order to bring it up to 21st century standards and provide students with the comfortable, safe living or learning environment that they deserve to be a part of. And as part of that, the second goal is to improve comfort in the schools and the classrooms. So there's several spaces that lack air conditioning or have faulty controls on them. So like I said, just providing that continuous, comfortable learning environment for them to be a part of every day. And then lastly, to reduce energy cost and usage. This is a third benefit, more so to show case to your community that if you're going to be undertaking a larger project, that you're doing so thoughtfully and responsibly and looking for ways to reduce your overall cost in some ways while you're approaching a larger project. And before we get into what that specific solution looks like, we wanted to explain a little bit about our process and why we think it would be a good fit for Rappahannock County Public Schools. So as you all may be familiar, the typical construction process is design, bid, build that you've utilized historically in the past. So that is our diagram on the left, essentially where Rappahannock is managing the entire process of figuring out what they want for design, going out, soliciting a design firm, whether that be an architect or engineering firm, to do that design, and then going back out for solicitation to get someone to actually install that and then maintain it for the long term. I know there's been a couple projects done that way in the past where there's been issues with, after installation, upkeep of the equipment or having stuff come in on time. And between those issues, we felt like our design process, which is a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more comprehensive, a little bit more collaborative, may be a good fit for you all. So the difference between that and what we do, which is what you're seeing on the right, is we're an intermediary between you and the project work. And we're also your single source from start to finish. So rather than you needing to go out for procurement twice, you're going out for procurement once and finding a firm that's going to suit your needs and work with you throughout the entire process. So we'd be working with you to determine what you want to put into your project, how much cost goes into that project, what the energy savings look like, and collaboratively meeting typically every other week to put that process together through our design phase. So rather than you, like I said, going out for a design firm and then having to separately get a price for actual implementation, it's all fluid. Our design engineers are talking to our construction managers so that we know that what we're designing is actually implementable and realistic, and that the price that we're giving you at the end of the contract is firm and fixed price. So that is design build in a nutshell, the difference between design bid build and design build. The other layer that we typically sometimes add to that for customers looking for that return on investment is called energy performance contracting. So that's where that third tab, the guaranteed performance, comes in. This is where we're actually measuring and verifying your savings on an annual basis to make sure you're seeing that money that we say you're going to save year after year. There's also other things that our staff is great at helping divisions with, and we find typically helpful with smaller divisions. One of those things is staff training to make sure that you fully understand the solution you're getting and then understand how to perform the proactive maintenance to make sure that equipment functions for its full lifespan. So typically with a lot of our clients, we're making sure that we're on site on an annual basis if they have any new staff to make sure that we're training them properly on how to keep that up. Is there any initial questions on the difference between the two models?
No.
Sounds good. And so a little bit more about that energy savings portion. What we typically try to do is create balanced projects. So that means taking your more expensive solutions, so all of those mechanical items on that HVAC study, and finding ways to balance them out with things that are going to have a fast and high return on investment. So for Rappahannock, that looks like lighting, building controls, building envelope, those different measures. And we'll showcase that a little bit more in the presentation later on. For Rappahannock as well, just because you do have so many items in the mechanical category, I would say it's most likely not going to be a fully balanced project where the savings are fully covering the upfront cost, but it will provide you, some return on investment just to showcase to your taxpayers that you're being responsible when you're undertaking this project. So for current conditions, I'm going to pass it off onto our technical team member here, Punty.
Thanks, Abby. Does this sound good?
Yeah.
So you guys had an energy facility study done on your current conditions. We've walked through your facilities and also looked at them as well. And what you can see is there's a lot of confirmation with the assessment that was done. There's also additional things that we found that could help benefit. But the key things, like Abby touched on, is either you have aging equipment. So at the elementary school, you got boilers that are about halfway done with their useful life. But then you got a lot of aging airside equipment and different pieces of equipment that are either running wide open or having a hard time being run since there's no control system. There could be issues with proper ventilation that's going on there as well. So there's just a myriad of things that are contributing not just to the discomfort in the spaces, but also the longevity of the equipment that you're going to have as well. When you tie that in with automation, and then potentially what Abby's touching on is what other things could drive savings. I think lighting is one of those things where if we can go ahead and standardize lighting and switch it to the newest technologies of LED, it'll take care of it for the next 8 to 10 years, depending on how long you guys use them. And that is probably a huge benefit for Robin and her team as well. So we go to the next slide, talks about the high school. I think the varying difference between the two schools is you got 2 boilers here that are providing the main source of heat that are well past their useful life. There's been some Band-Aiding and putting in some new burners there, but there's an opportunity to standardize that, modernize that equipment as well. So the next slide here is talking about your current conditions and then how we can transition that to what the future state looks like. And I think the key things to take away from this slide are standardization, newer equipment that's easier to maintain, and then control. Let's keep the heat where we need to keep it. Let's run it during the time that the school's open. When it's not open, you guys can drive energy savings by turning it off, scheduling it.
So we're just summarizing everything at a high level for tonight, but there's a little bit more information in the packet. Next up, we have for you our scope matrix. So this summarizes all the work that needs to be done eventually in your facilities or could be done in your facilities. And as you can see, we cross-referenced your HVAC study with the prioritization on top of the scope matrix that we included, as well as added in the green bars some things that would contribute to the energy savings over time. So like I mentioned, those include a potential fuel conversion for you all, as well as the lighting retrofit and the building automation systems. But overall, down the line, if we were to continue to pursue this relationship together, when we're in the design phase, we'd be working with you to ultimately narrow down that list, even though it's already prioritized, to make sure the solutions that we're putting together fit your budget, but also your top level priorities at the time. And then we'll briefly touch on some solutions since we already mentioned them before getting into, some of the benefits and the financial picture. I know some of y'all are looking at it.
Yeah. So just touch on some of the technologies that we're talking about. LED lighting, as you can see in some of the pictures, either have fixtures that have partially burned out lamps, different color temperatures as well. Some are softer, some are whiter. That whole aspect is all resolved when you standardize it as well. So part of our design process is we don't dictate to you guys what you should go with. Is there a color temperature you guys prefer? We can help standardize that. We can help you guys make the determination on which one works best for your environment as well. But it's just, I think the biggest thing on this is just reduce maintenance and longevity of the equipment. Building automation, I think in the conversations with Robin and our team has had, there's just equipment running wide open.
Yeah. So crazy.
So our goal, and the biggest issue is the controls that is there, some of it's not working. Some of it has just been disparate and you're not able to get the parts and pieces that you need, and really just a revamping of the entire control system. Not only will provide comfort, but will help Robin and her team in terms of maintenance and being able to pinpoint where the problems are as well. And then HVAC, we talked about it a little bit. I think there's a lot of aging equipment, disparate equipment, various different types. We want to help standardize that as well between the ground source system, between the barred wall packs, between any other split systems. I think the biggest thing that you're going to gain away from this is it's going to be designed properly to where there's the proper ventilation for your student environments. Any questions on those? Those are like the very top three, but we'd be happy to talk about anything if you guys have questions on them.
Sorry, I'm a member of the Board of Supervisors, not on the school board. So this is more a question for school board members, superintendent, Ms. Witt, maybe even Mr. Curry. I remember 4 years ago, 5 years ago, there was an HVAC contractor in either one or both schools for some extended period of time. And I was just wondering what that was all about and what happened and what money was spent on HVAC systems at that time and for what purpose.
Well, I think there's a long history of HVAC contractors involved here, and there was a period of time when there was a contractor in providing routine reporting, and that reporting was shared to both the school board and the board, and I think that's probably what you remember. The schools have transitioned away from that particular contractor and have moved to some other smaller contractors who we feel like maybe we have a better relationship and are willing to tell us exactly what's going on. That sort of relationship helped the board feel like it was a good idea to hire a consulting engineer to do the updated facility study here, upon which their study is based. They layered on top lighting and building weatherization. So anytime you have thousands of square feet, there's a lot of work to do, and if you fall behind, that's tricky. I think they've been catching up for the 8 years I've been in Rappahannock County, and Shannon's been here a little longer, catching up to long-term issues and gaining on them. But while you're gaining on those long-term issues, we're also aging equipment, that might have been okay 8 years ago, but still it's getting older and older.
I guess my question is was there any fundamental replacement of components, conveyance systems, et cetera, for HVAC?
Yeah, there's significant increases. Robin can speak to this.
Yeah, and I ran into the contractor having dinner one night at Headmaster's Pub, which
You ran into Corey.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank
Corey
you.
is-
Yeah.
So we've had,
What did Corey do? That's what I want to know.
we have 3 different companies in the past 8 years. We started out with Southern Air, and we did a comprehensive agreement with them for a set mount. They would do our preventive maintenance and repairs, other than leaks and things that aren't covered that they can't cover or prevent. From there, we went to Honeywell. They got too cost prohibitive. We put it out to bid again, and Titan, Corey is the owner of
Okay,
Titan,
yep.
got the bid, and we're on our 3rd year with Corey,
Okay.
and he's been responsive. They cleaned the filters. They agrees what they need to do. They were out here today. They have to respond within 4 hours if we have a problem. And it's been very beneficial because we've been able to stay ahead and keep things going longer.
And then, Dr. Bolt, if you can explain too, during COVID, some of the influx of federal dollars, we were able to get some of the upgrades you were able to do that had to do with air quality. They were restrictive on what you could do to your HVAC and restore and replace some components, but.
So what we did is, and you can probably see the light up there, we put air cleaners in. And then the barge where there was no way to do it, we put floor models in that clean the air. So air quality is greatly improved. Can we do better? Of course. But with those ESSER funds, we're able to really work on our air quality.
But over the last couple of years, you've replaced a number of barge units.
We replaced all the barge
VRF
units.
systems. So
And
there's
we
been
put
lot
a
of new
VRF
systems.
system in the high school. So there have been some significant, and that was done with grant funding. And we were able to use ESSER funds for a lot of those.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for reminding me of his name. He's a very energetic guy, and he described crawling around in the ceiling of all your buildings, and it sounded like pretty involved. And I just want to make sure to understand clearly that, and it seems like you've now explained it, that's really all been maintenance of existing infrastructure as opposed to replacing
And repair.
and repair.
Yes, and
Okay.
repair.
And replacement. Corey did your VRF
Yes,
work.
but we put it out to bid, and his company won the bid.
Okay.
So for the big projects, we put out to bid, and if he wins, he wins, and he didn't win the barge, so
Okay.
Southern area.
So you had to fix them afterwards.
Yeah.
So Robin hired Titan, and then I stole him for county work. too.
Yes. Corey was not upset about that, but when he comes here, I make him come here first before he goes to the county.
And he does joke with us, he has for many years, that he likes coming here and training his new guys because he can pretty much train on just about every system there is,
Yeah,
for commercial, which isn't great for our efficiencies.
No.
But maybe there's some funding we can pull down for training
That's what I'm thinking,
HVAC.
CTE. CTE, we could, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next one. Financial.
Yeah, and to explain a little bit about the process that we undertook in putting together this study, part of it was walking through your facilities to make sure that we saw all the equipment. Part of it was reviewing the previous HVAC study. Part of it was having a lot of conversations with your staff. And part of it was talking with Corey as well to make sure whatever we do fits in with the process of what he's already done.
Thank you.
So to talk through program financials and benefits, also part of what we did was review your utility costs over the last 14 months. And so when we did that study, comprised of reviewing those with our energy engineers and benchmarking you across some other districts, as well as looking at your facilities and the scope list, we were able to put together what we would forecast potential estimated savings to look like on an annual basis, as well as over a 20-year basis. So as you can see right now, you're spending around $290,000 as a school division on utilities, which typically tends to be a larger expense for people. And so with about a 20% estimated reduction, which is around $58,000 a year, we do believe over a 20-year period, which you can take out financing for 15 to 20 years for these types of projects. Typically, you'd save around $1 million. And I know there's some other school funding pools that we're hoping open up in the next year due to legislative priorities, specifically the 1% sales tax that would also aid in the funding of projects like this. So like I said, we aim to be very collaborative in our approach to doing projects. So when we're working with divisions that have very specific funding sources that they want to stay within, we definitely keep that in mind as we're designing our process. We also build the timeline around when that funding is available. So we'd be able to work with you as that legislation is in flux. And then some key attributes of our program. The first, like I've been saying, is a very collaborative process. So rather than us dictating what's going on in your facilities, you very much have the high level authority and control over it while we manage the minutia of the day-to-day of design. You know, the school division leaders have a lot to manage between curriculum and policy and every day-to-day tasks that come with their job. And so typically facilities isn't something that you're trained on and experienced in, and we are. We have a team of engineers that are based in Richmond that full-time design these projects majority of the time for school divisions and are very comfortable with managing a variety of different systems and also doing everything from direct replacement to redesigns of your systems focused on the longevity and long-term goal of the district. So in your case, if you're looking to standardize from multiple systems to a singular system, but do it in the time that makes sense for the lifespan of each piece of equipment, we're able to help you guide on that process. It's a simplified procurement in two different ways. The first being simplified in that you don't have to go out for procurement twice in order to get work done only once. Or there also is cooperative contracts, which we are a part of in Virginia. Omnia specifically is regularly used by other school divisions with us in Northern Virginia. And then the other is on the end of subcontractors. So part of our responsibility in this design build process with you all is managing and hiring of the subcontractors. So ultimately, like everything else, you get the input and say into the fact that it is your project. So if you have preferred subcontractors like Corey that you want to maintain through this project, we're certainly able to do that. The most recent project that I've been working on is with Craig County Public Schools, also rural, also smaller. They had a mechanical contractor that they preferred, an automation contractor that they preferred, and a propane vendor that they wanted to work with. And so we were able to utilize all of their preferred vendors as we were going through that process. But another benefit is we have done a great sum of work across Virginia, so we do have a good understanding of the subcontractors that are able to hold up to their guarantees and their words and provide you with good ongoing service, so you're not fluctuating between different firms every couple of years. It's a fiscally responsible approach, so like I said, we add in savings and look for opportunities to provide those energy savings to you all. So as energy prices continue to rise, you're making sure you're spending what's reasonable on them and finding ways to reduce your consumption as much as possible. A single point of accountability. So part of our contract, beyond just us managing your subcontractors, your equipment selection, all of that stuff for you all, is also that it's a fixed price contract at the end of the day. So there'll be no change orders initiated from us. We go through a full design process with you that's very collaborative, at the end of which you receive a fixed price, a fixed scope, and a fixed savings. So there'll be no changing of that on your end if anything were to go wrong during construction, which fingers crossed it doesn't. Optimal solutions, we truly do feel that our process allows clients to get the best value projects. So we like to look at life cycle costing approaches when we're doing our projects and say, what's the equipment that's going to be the best installation for them, for their needs, for their price point, but also to last them over time as a division and achieve their long-term goals. And then lastly, streamlining future operations. Like I said, ongoing training is a part of what we do. So as there is staff turnover and changes amongst the division, we're able to be a source of longevity for you all and a trusted partner. I know a model of success has been finding, subject matter experts, whether that be Corey or someone in custodial, to help you manage the day-to-day tasks of the division, but keep you clear and focused on what's happening. And so I find that typically we're called an easy button for a lot of our customers, and we're able to help them execute on that and continue the vision down the line. So just one more slide, and then I'll stop talking and let you guys ask some questions. But to explain our design process a little bit more thoroughly, typically what happens from here is once you guys feel ready and confident that you want to move forward with a project, you would do either cooperative procurement or public procurement to solicit a firm like ours. And then we'd enter into our design phase, which is called an investment grade audit. So this is where that collaborative every other week of meetings comes in. So we're bringing in all of our engineers across a variety of disciplines onto your sites to assess the scope included in the project, prioritize what fits in, understand your financial parameters at the time, and put together that final fixed price contract, like I said. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. Happy to answer any questions about the potential project or our firm for you all.
Little school districts like ours with a myriad of equipment, aging, past average useful life, is that right in the heart of your experience as a contractor?
Yeah, certainly. So we've worked with school districts of all sizes, to be transparent, but we've done a lot of work with small rural divisions. I would say our bread and butter is helping people with significant deferred maintenance level set so they're able to move forward proactively.
We don't think it was deferred maintenance. We think it was being fiscally conservative, but I get you.
Noted for future
I get
statements.
your point. Yeah, at some point you cross the line and then, yeah.
I'll edit
So,
my
yeah.
in the transcription.
Start to finish, how long do you see this project taking?
So it depends. We've talked about a phased approach based on monetary options that are coming available over time. But typically when we're looking at doing a design phase, depending on how prioritized you are, I would say it typically takes us 4 to 8 months to go through design and get to installation, maybe a little less with the scope that you guys have outlined. But typically we're orienting that around your summer breaks so we're able to get the majority of construction done during that time. And then things like lighting we're able to do in second shift.
Okay, so let's just pretend that we said, let's do it all and do it all right now. You think you could get it done on the summer break?
I would say based on lead times for equipment right now, it would be a 2027 summer project.
Okay. Well, but over the course of a summer break is what I'm asking. like start
Yep.
to
It
finish?
wouldn't be
Okay.
this.
Yeah, I
kind of
think
stuff.
for these two
Right, no, I
schools
understand
and
that.
the scope of the work, you could do it over a summer break.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I do call this deferred maintenance. It's 19, I'm seeing dates of 1985, 1995, 2011. Our babies are in these buildings. This is a little embarrassing to to see these pictures. Yeah, that's, I'll bite my tongue for the rest.
I think that's why the capital improvement plan was old.
But once we engaged, hypothetically, if we engaged Snyder, we could have one project with 2 phases that took a year, the lighting project, because that's all we can afford. And after that, then we come up for air and we discuss engaging a second project. So you could see these folks around for 20 years, one project at a time, or they do the 2027 project, and we're like, thanks, see you around, and we don't engage them again. So it's not like we're keeping them on retainer. It's just a resource for us to use that will be a general contractor, make sure something gets engineered and executed without us having to be in the weeds of the project. So it kind of raises the project up for us, I think. Anyway, that was, and the reason to brief everyone is so that we're all aware of what it is we're looking at, as how, if we did have funding to start the deferred project list, how would we execute that? We want to do it responsibly with a plan that, 20 years from now, people won't think, like right now, why are we putting a roof on the elementary again? Didn't we just do that? I was here last time we put the roof on the elementary. And so 20 years goes by pretty quick.
You look exactly the same. I just want to say that the thing that's the biggest exclamation mark for me is that we're simultaneously heating and cooling some spaces. Like, did you see that in the report? Like, that feels crazy to me, knowing how unstable the price of oil, the price of electricity is right now. I mean, I think it would be crazy to not try to address those kinds of things. Close the window, whatever thing needs to happen. But I just feel like there's more urgency. This feels more urgent to me in our current larger climate with prices climbing, and we don't have control over how much it's going to cost to get more heating oil, we don't have any control over that. We have to try to keep it comfortable. That's why I really wanted to emphasize this at our last joint meeting, and I'm really pleased that we were able to get you guys to come to both and to explain and see some of the, I know you like seeing the details, and we want to be as transparent as possible, and I do think and I think it's a great education opportunity, as we talked about at our board meeting last week, that we, we're a teaching institution, right? So we want to show responsibility, and we also want to be technologically appropriate. That there people said, oh, LED lights, they're not good because 5 years ago when they came out they weren't. But actually, like, we can model some good cost savings in our, for our students. And we asked last meeting asked the question about potential for teaching our kids and having them be involved and teaching our families. And that's always something that we want to do. And I know that's something you specialize in. I don't know if you could talk a little about that aspect of how our CTE classes or just our general school population could be engaged with learning.
Yeah, certainly. So we're a larger company. Part of that is we have regions. So our East region has 2 women, both coincidentally named Dunaby, who manage our regional client coordination, which basically means they assist our clients in post-product activities, part of which is typically either educational opportunities from walking around with our staff during our walkthroughs during IGA to test the light meters and show them how to do that process, having staff come into different high school classes and educate them on engineering principles, or do things like Earth Day activities. So we'll do everything from tree plantings to, simplistic activities for the little kids. And then we also have historically every year for the last 3 years done something called Girls in STEAM. So last year we hosted it in Northern Virginia, where I think we had 95 girls come out and we did a full day of STEM education for them.
What led you to this particular company?
So Schneider does come very highly recommended by colleagues across the state, and that's what tipped us off to them. And a close friend of Dr. Bolt's as well was really extending that reference, so we checked them out, and sure enough, the references did check, and the project scope and the things that they've executed in small rural in particular have been pretty impressive, so.
Yeah, I just had a question. I don't know if you can hear me. Doesn't sound like it.
There's no-
Can you hear me now? No. You have to speak loud.
I'll borrow hers. How about now? There we go.
Yeah, I can hear
Okay. So maybe it's a connection, I don't know. So this 1% bill, I was
Yes.
trying to find the reference, I'm not sure which bill it is, but I'm sure there are a lot of small fiscally conservative counties and schools in the state that with deferred maintenance that are going to be looking at projects like that,
Yeah.
like this at next year. I'm wondering if you're hearing similar things from other schools or, I guess, and we'll see if that bill passes, number one, and if, number two, if we're able to convince our voters that they
Yeah.
want to do this. But I'm interested to hear what you're seeing around the state with this bill. And number one and number two, is there going to be a rush to a lot of capital projects next summer?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
good
everybody's
question.
going to be in
Question.
the same boat.
Yeah, certainly. So each locality typically tends to look at it differently. I think there's 6 localities that currently were able to secure it 3 years ago when it was temporarily approved. And so some of them specifically use that for security funding. Some of them use it as a rotating fund. So I wouldn't say there's been like an overall rush to get projects designed right now to implement next year when that comes in, which is a good thing in this case. But I would say in terms of the 1% sales tax and understanding that, we're heavily involved in VACO as well and have legislative partners who brief us on it all the time. It does sound like it's going to get passed this year, fingers crossed, with a much higher probability than the last 2 years in the legislation. And I would say for that, can you repeat part of your question? So I know it was,
Yeah, is there going to be a rush, number one?
is there going to be a rush? Okay.
And number two, do you see other schools
Yes.
and counties looking at this? I mean, we're trying to figure out, is it going to pass? And it sounds like you're optimistic, but number two, are our voters going to accept it? What do you hear other counties saying?
Most school divisions that I'm talking to, I do hear talking about wanting this as a source of capital funding. I believe it was in, I want to say 2018, that the Rural School Commission did the Crumbling Schools Tour just to emphasize how much deferred maintenance is prevalent in school districts in Virginia. And so that's actually the impetus for why the 1% schools tax was originally put into legislation and voted in a couple of years ago. And so definitely a big topic for a lot of school division leaders. I know it's heavily being advocated by VAS and by VASBO, or VSBA, sorry, I mixed up my acronyms. So yes, I do think the majority of localities and school divisions that I've been talking to do have the intention of putting it out for a vote if it were to come to pass.
In passing, I heard my favorite 2 words, fixed fee. And I wonder if you could circle back on that and maybe just put a finer point on, for the record right now, what does fixed fee mean in the end?
Yeah, so certainly. So at the end of the day, we have what's called a construction contract that's signed at the end of our design agreement. And essentially, if that's signed in an appropriate manner of days, I think, what is it typically, 30, 45?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
30, 45 days. We'll work that out with you all when the day comes and our subcontractor quotes are in place. If that's signed within the reasonable amount of time, then that is the price that you'll see. There'll be no change orders. We don't have the authority to issue them to you further down the line unless you were to want to add scope into the project and initiate that on our behalf.
The other thing I'll add, let's say we design a system and working closely with facilities team and we miss something. Let's say we improperly forgot to look at a certain section of the building and then we design a piece of equipment, and then after the fact, as we're going through AHJ approval, permitting, that's been identified. That's on us because we missed it.
I really want you guys to go talk to our new courthouse architects and their contractor and explain to them the wonderful reception you receive from us when you use the words fixed fee. That's, I mean, obviously that's an awesome concept for us,
Yeah.
especially with everything going up in price and the uncertainty introduced by things like tariffs and wars and things like that. So thank you, and we'll hold you to it for sure.
And there's no magic bullet to this. Somebody is pricing in the risk, always.
Yeah.
And so they are managing their risk. They've done a lot of projects, and so they know what to expect, and that's priced in. And we accept that. And so, when I was at last week's meeting, I slipped over and talked to them. I said, the biggest thing that you can do for our boards is help them understand how your project delivery method is differentiated from a typical design, bid, build, or a series of design, bid, build for a lot of different projects, which would get pretty complex for small staff. And so one of the biggest things they bring to the table is that they could bring it all together and have a coordinated effort, perhaps over years, depending on when revenue comes in, or maybe up front if it's a bond or something that is paid back. But it's that project delivery that is unique to what they're suggesting. And there are others that can do that project delivery method, but it's unique from a typical, get the engineers who did the walkthrough, have them design 14 different projects, have us bid out 14 different projects, have 14 different contractors come in. And so that's really the big question in all of this.
Yeah, and to explain pricing during the design phase a little bit as well, just for clarity, when we enter into the investment grade audit after being procured, what happens then is we assign an exit fee based on a percentage of estimated design cost to the division. And that fee is only to be paid if you were to not do a construction project at the end of the day. So the construction project scope can vary during the design phase and change, and that does not matter. But as long as you were to implement a project, there'd be no additional fee. It's truly only if you were to do absolutely nothing at the end of the day.
So basically, what I understood you to just say is, at the time a contract is signed, preceding that contract would be any back and forth related to scope of work, and those variables would be incorporated in the final contract. But once the contract is signed, there's no subsequent amended contract that would supersede the one signed by both parties. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that would drive the fixed fee agreed upon at that time?
Yep.
Okay.
Once you do the audit, is there a guarantee on that expected energy savings?
Yep, so if you were to go through the energy performance contracting realm, there's an energy guarantee on it. So basically, we're saying in that fixed price contract, this is the amount of savings that you'll see on an annual basis. And we do that through the international measurement and verification protocols. There's 4 different options. Based on the scope that's included in the project, we choose the ones that work best. And when we give you that savings guarantee, part of what we'll do is come back on an annual basis. We have a whole team that specializes in performance assurance and showcase to you exactly how you saved that money in your utility bills over the last year. And then there's actually a portion of that contract to say, if you were to not see those energy savings that year, we're liable to cut you what's called a shortfall check. So that's the difference between what we promised you and what you actually saw. And I will say, I think 99.7% of the time, we have not needed to do that, but we have written shortfall checks before. And in a way, we are proud of that to showcase, construction's messy, stuff happens, we stand behind our word.
And I think the thing I'll add with that is when we do write a shortfall check, we don't just leave it at that. We try to come in and figure out where the shortfall is, remediate that so that you still see your savings.
Just one more question, please. I'm aware of other performance contract methods where the financing is part of the contract that you're talking about tonight. Is that what your model is? Or we would obtain the financing outside of the contract with Schneider and work in that manner?
So typically, we will have you obtain financing separately, but we can facilitate that process with you. So we have a woman on our team named Kim Albertson who specializes in working with lenders and financial partners to facilitate that. And we also have good relationships with Davenport and VML Vaco, all the financial advisors in the state.
Same.
So
Yep.
typically we're working collaboratively with you to assess your different options.
That's a good question.
When you put your study together, do you show the difference between propane, fuel oil, electric, and I appreciate that you said propane, but also the equipment that has to go along with that particular fuel and the price differencing? Will you share that with the?
Yeah, certainly. So we can display the metrics in any way that suits you all best. So if you would like it broken out by specific utilities and the savings associated with each, we can certainly do that easily.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right.
I really appreciate you guys coming out 2 weeks in a row. You got a long drive ahead of you, and it's good to have you back and make sure we're all on the same page.
Sounds
Look forward
good.
to seeing you
Thank you
again.
very
Thanks,
much.
Abby.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
All right, Dr. Grimsley.
Yes, Mr. and Madam Chair people, because I hadn't tried to put that grammatically in my head, chair people. So this is the work session portion, but we did think that we would bring before you an issue that we've been grappling with, and I think everybody is, about the health insurance challenges that we've been facing, and I've been talking to a lot of colleagues across the state and nationally. This is a really big issue on the radar right now. Health insurance companies rates are increasing across the board in a lot of ways. The local choice here in Virginia is experiencing quite a heavy increase statewide, and also we learned just a couple weeks ago that there is going to be also on top of the increases lapse in some of the RX coverage that they offer. So putting all that together, the employees really do get hit pretty deeply. So at last week's work session, you did ask us to put together some real numbers, like how would this impact a teacher, a bus driver, a classified employee, so on all those different plans that we offer. So Stacy and I have worked on a presentation. I'm going to let Stacy walk through that with you so you can kind of see where we land on what we proposed. And remember, the board at an initial work session asked us, well, what if we put more into direct compensation rather than continually trying to absorb all that, the health insurance increase, and give them more, and they have choices in the plans that they can offer. Years ago, we did see this kind of on the radar with what we were seeing in policy decisions being made and with health insurance companies, and we designed that third plan with the high deductible and HSA option as sort of an off-ramp to offer some type of a sustainable model should the board not be able to afford, continuing on a key care advantage 500 or 1,000 plan. It gave an off-ramp and an investment mechanism for employees to take advantage of and take more control of their healthcare premiums. So for those who have switched, it's been really positive, but it's not for everybody. Okay, so that's what we've run into. So Stacy, I'm going to pull up the health insurance slides.
Yeah. So like Dr. Grimsley said last week, when we presented the budget, there were a lot of questions about how the health insurance would directly affect our staff on a biweekly pay schedule. So I was able to put that together for you guys. I used actual staff numbers. Our finance system lets me manipulate to see, if health insurance changes to this, what does their pay look like? So I was able to do that for you guys. Just to give you an overall look at our health insurance, we currently insure 115 staff members on our plan. 16% of those are on the high deductible plan, which we have seen 2 years ago, we probably had 2 people total. So we have seen an increase on that, which is nice. But almost half are on our family plans, which is the plan that would most likely be hit the hardest for this budget. So looking at the impact of insurance for Teachers First on our 3 plans, you can see overall the high deductible plan, they won't see an increase at all, of course. Key Advantage 500, the only plan that they would not see a deduction and bring home pay is going to be the single subscriber. Any other plan under the Key Advantage 500, because it's our top tier health insurance plan, they're going to see a reduction in their pay. And it can range from from $13 a pay period to $100, which is pretty hefty. We get paid twice a month, so $200 a month for some people can be devastating.
And this is also incorporating the 6%.
Yes,
Salary increase.
This is based on
With
doing
the
a
increase.
6% for teachers as well.
Yep.
And then with our Key Advantage 1000, with the 6%, the only plan that they will see a reduction in is the family plan. And like we showed you before, 45 of our 115 employees are on the family plan, so they're going to get hit. And then when you switch over to look at our support staff, we were only doing a 3% increase for them. So they aren't as fortunate to see the full 6%, and they are getting hit the hardest. Our bus drivers, if they were on a family plan, they can lose $216 a pay period. And that's hard for them. You know, I know a lot of people say they work for their insurance, but when you go from bringing home $407 to bringing home $191, that's heartbreaking. But again, we do have the high deductible plan for them. That is an option for everybody. But like Dr. Grimsley said, you have to make sure that that is a plan that benefits you. Because if you have high prescription costs, if you go to the doctor frequently, if you have a medical condition, high deductible is probably not the best plan that's going to work. So you have to take those things into consideration. So again, our solution, if we stay with the 6% increase and pass on the insurance, is to educate on high deductible plan. Try to get those who will benefit from it to go that route, because they will see the most bang for their buck in the end. But it's not a solution for everybody, and that's what we really need to look at. I do have a meeting next week with One Digital, who is our health insurance representative, and we're going to discuss some options. Right now they have two options for us. One of them is being self-insured, which is scary in itself, because when you have $1 million claimant like we've had in the past, we're responsible for that overage. And with a budget that is so tight, it can really do damage to us. I mean, we would be responsible for making up the difference on what we have planned and budgeted and what the difference is.
Is there anything besides being self-insured they're going to talk to us
Well, you can have a reinsurance, or you can have a program that provides insurance just for really high claims,
Yes,
but it's still, that's probably a tough swing for a division our size.
yes. What was
Do
your
you know what the other option is yet?
I'm meeting with them on Wednesday, so I don't know offhand. I know he was hopeful that he has some carriers that are trying to break into the private sector, and so, public sector. So we're hoping it will be beneficial, but
And that's
I'm
the
not-
challenge with this. The local choice is sold as a locality's sustainable option that provides protections on your claimant pool. So that's where we really struggle, because yes, we saw 2 years of these increases. However, the trend is after the couple of years of high, it does come back down. We'll see. I mean, things the way they are, but that's what the claim is on that. However, if we move away from that, we do worry about the statewide pool that you do have those protections around if you don't have those things. So those are some of the challenges with it, but the lapse in the RX coverage with the local choice, and it's supposed to be the affordable option for localities to have competitive benefits. So we're struggling with that, the way they're branding this right now, and it might be worth having some communication. We certainly are through our representative, but if the board's chose to maybe draft a letter and write to them to express some, concern with that and the sustainability, that may not be a bad idea as their, the open enrollment periods and renewal contracts are coming up. We have a couple more slides here to show you.
So for our regional insurance comparison, currently and in previous years, we have been very competitive when it comes to what we pay for our employees' insurance. With the increase this for budget year 27, we do drop in our traditional and mid-tier, which is our Key Advantage 500 and 1000. So we will lose grounds on what we offer as benefits to our staff. But again, we have the high deductible plan that will cover 100% of the employee. Yes, sir.
Stacy, I assume the data for the other counties is FY26 data.
FY26,
So
yes.
they're probably wrestling with some of the same
Correct.
things you are. So it's not
And-
exactly an apples to apples comparison.
Right, this is not. So currently Warren County, Shenandoah, and Page are with the local choice Fauquier, and I do not believe Culpeper is. They have different plans. Fauquier is in a coalition, correct? Or
Yes. I believe so, consortium.
consortium.
So we already have lower salaries than most of the competition, and they're already paying more with insurance than we are, correct? They contribute more, and they're paying a higher salary already, per
Yeah.
se, as long as we know
Yes.
last year's figures. Our bus drivers, unless something's changed, we had a horrible time getting and keeping bus drivers. Most of them are here for the insurance to supplement whatever they have going on at home. You were bringing home $500 paying for your insurance. Now you're going to bring home about $100 after you drive twice a day. It takes up most of your day because you really can't go do anything else. And we're going to pass all that. How are we not shooting ourselves in the foot?
Well, and that's the discussion
How are
point.
we not
Yes,
making,
exactly.
it's not your fault, it's late in the game, but how are we not making it look very enticing for our staff to go next door? How are we not making it look very enticing? It's not your fault, I'm just,
No, absolutely. We're not
for
taking
our
it that
bus
way.
drivers to say,
Yeah.
going to Fauquier,
Mhm.
they're doing double routes, they need people. Going to Culpeper, there's a lady down there today that does 3, back to back to back.
Yep.
How are we not doing with our staff members now what we have done with our buildings and kicking it down the road? I know it's not an easy fix, but
Well, and these are the sustainable conversations that we do want to have. The
Sums
sustainability of competitive benefits is a struggle. And to Gary and Bonnie's point too, they were right. This is FY26. All districts right now are struggling with what contributions they're giving. They're building their budgets as well. Most have said that they are going to pass on a hefty insurance increase to their employees in our budget roundtables with other superintendents. So this is not abnormal. One of the superintendents that I'm the executive coach for, his district got 28.5% on the local choice as well. So everyone is struggling with this right now. So it's not going to be a perfect model. It's just what model are we going to adopt? And we do have a kind of board decisions that we kind of need to make tonight if we're going to move forward. Option A, stay the course on what we said, giving teachers instructional raise of 6%. That's just teachers only. Other school districts do that very commonly. We never have made that a practice here. We usually do the SOQ mandate across the board increase, but we said, if you gave more at that work session, that's what this scenario is what would, happen. So if we stay on that, pass increases to employees, but hold that high deductible as the plan the board wishes to give the 100% employer, single subscriber employer contribution, then that's one option. That's what we've proposed to you. Not to say that my proposal is one that we're ultimately recommending. We want shared decision-making on this compensation budget, benefits budget. But the downside is like what Stacy just went through with you, the support staff really get hit the hardest. They don't have the higher salary increases coming out of it, so they will see the highest level of take-home reductions, and that has been some of the feedback we've been getting from them. Bus drivers have an interesting dynamic in Rappahannock County, which is a selling point for us. We do only have the single runs twice a day, shorter time period, so we offer benefits where, you know, we may not even need to, but we do. So that's an added benefit of driving here. You don't have the double runs, you're not working 40 hours a week, you know, but you still get the advantage of having the benefit of having health insurance at these plans. But other districts are doing that too, you know, so it just kind of depends. But option B, we can better protect the benefits if we do the 3% across the board. And I keep landing at 3% because that is what all of our lobbyist folks in Richmond right now are telling us that the education amount will go to, it sounds like, in conference. We don't know ultimately, but that's where it'll land. And of course,
So we can get our 17%?
we'll get our 17% of that. But our projections are based on the Youngkin budget, so the revenue that we have. So this is worst case, remember? So 3% across the board. We pull back the 6 for teachers. We can protect benefits a little bit better that way. And once the conference budget comes out, typically if trend continues and what we've seen in legislation, there will be more funding, state funding coming to us, some more revenue in different streams with at-risk add-on. Not a whole heck of a lot, but you know, some that could help offset some of this. So,
What is the dollar value of the additional 3% for teachers?
I have it, but not with me. I can tell you.
Which you would be investing back in?
Yeah.
correct.
And would a potential model be investing that into HSA contribution to hedge the risk for employees who might need it?
And that's something Culpeper does. You're exactly right. So their HSA contribution is $2,500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
That's an option
and
too.
I've seen some other models where the body might hold a large portion of those dollars as risk mitigation for a large claim. So what is the total out-of-pocket maximum for somebody on a high deductible plan? And, you know, if it's $15,000, 15,000 times 115 employees, if everybody was maximum out-of-pocket, which will never happen, you could completely mitigate risk and lower the premiums a whole ton.
Right.
So there's some hybrid models you could maybe put in place if you had a bucket of protection money on the side to manage that risk.
Correct. Mhm.
But we can see people that have been reluctant to take that step
Well,
because it's an unknown, I think.
yeah, but if you tell them, we've got your unknown covered through whatever program it is, through dollars to pay that deductible, only if it's needed.
So my thoughts, I'll just share them and we'll see where we go. But option B, if we level things out at 3%, then we have guarded or put that money to use to take care of the health insurance increase that would impact them to where they'd be taking home less money. So that that's something that we can easily do, and we still have a zero ask from the county. And we believe, and I know it's wishful thinking, but we believe that we'll be getting more money from the state than what we've currently projected. And at which time we would go back to the supervisors and ask that that money be given to the school system and that we would be using it to specifically for salary increases.
For teacher
staff.
salary increases on top of the 3%.
I mean, it could be for the entire staff. It's been our practice for a long time that we don't typically single out anyone. I mean, the support staff are typically lower paid, and so if we give 1%, I'd be in favor of giving the same thing to everyone and doing it across the board. But we are expecting money. It's wishful thinking, but we expect that kind of change is coming, and that's how we would apply it. If that gives staff hope. And we won't know it until after we're done with all of our work as a county. So we'll have to come back later and ask for it. But that's how we would intend to use it. The only alternative is for the school board to ask for 4 or 5 or 6%, and which would create an instantaneously a county ask in a time when we probably will be getting the money from the state, but we don't know it. And the county would have to plan accordingly. So anyway, my druthers are that we go with option B, and that we make sure everyone's informed that if we get additional funds, that it would be our intent to apply that directly to staff and faculty salaries. I don't know if anybody else wants to make a comment about it.
I would support option B with if we do receive more funding, if we were able to give teachers and support staff the extra and sort of level that off, because we know that percentage-wise, when you're receiving a small take-home pay, you don't get as many dollars more as if you're in the top tiers of salary. And when we're talking about, a family that makes $180,000 is going to pay the same amount as a family that makes, $20,000. We really, what we're trying to do is compensate for some of those families, the 50 or so, especially who are on the family plan that we're concerned with and we care for, that they're going to have to pay the same number of dollars. So I would like to say that we will weight any additional funds. I would propose that we would weight them towards the teaching and the support staff.
I wonder if I could just ask a question for context. And I think any member of the school board, Mr. Mills, maybe Dr. Grimsley or Ms. Witt could help me. I've asked previously of Dr. Grimsley at Board of Supervisors meetings when she gives her very well-received presentations about the role that compensation, salary, and benefits play in the question of recruitment and retention. I certainly have the mind that the more we can pay teachers, the better in terms of retaining really good ones. And at the risk of upsetting Chris over here, and trust me, you're the last person I would ever want to upset, although I know you're not writing tickets in our county anymore. So there's some good news. But I do want to understand something that I read in the superintendent's annual report that I believe goes to the Virginia Department of Education. And I've been left with the impression over the years that we struggle to compete on the salary front for teachers. Table 19 in that annual report, and I think it covers through fiscal year 25, so it covers about 7 fiscal years, shows that across 7 fiscal years, starting with fiscal year 2019, among our peers in neighboring localities, in 5 of those 7 fiscal years, we actually ranked highest in terms of average. I believe the title of Table 19 is clear. It says average salaries for teaching positions. Mm-hmm. So on this question of competitiveness, I want us to be competitive, but I'm trying to reconcile this notion that we're already not competitive with the data that suggests that among our peers, we're ranking often at the top, with the exception of Fauquier County. And is it a function of the averaging and based on experience and not keeping up when someone has a master's?
You knew the answer already.
Okay,
Why'd you ask me a question?
I retract my question.
You're exactly right. So average salary on that table in the annual school report really says a lot about our retention of veteran level staff. So you keep them longer on the scale if they're upwards of your 30 plus years, which we do have many in that category that have stayed here that long, then you will see that average go up. So we're better at retaining veteran staff than our neighbors, but it doesn't mean our entry level salaries are on par.
Just looking at your budget, it's hard for me to get a total difference in health insurance last year versus health insurance with this new estimate. Do you have a?
It was roughly, the 21.8% cost roughly $350,000.
Over last year?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That is crazy.
So we got our increase, I think it saw our increase at the last budget meeting, and I think we were at 10.1%. And I know we don't control this, but it's surprising that the increase is more than double what it is at the county, and I'm wondering if we have any sense.
Well, several years, the school was 0 and we were 5 or 7. And it's, for, the local choice handles it differently depending on your group size. And for the county's group size, it's small enough, less than 99 people, I believe is the metric, where our specific claims experience doesn't affect the rate. It's a blended claims experience across all small groups. And as you get larger, it begins to blend in your actual claims experience with the group. And the largest is based on their actual claims experience. So the school is somewhere in the middle where the actual claims that came out of the schools for whatever health issues came up and prescriptions that came up drive part of that increase. And the overall pool of kind of mid-size groups drives it. And so that's why we would see different, because we're in different group sizes, and they actually have their own experience of applying. Okay. Thanks. Which doesn't make it any easier.
No, it doesn't.
We give 3% towards cutting back the insurance. How much of that 350,000 does that cover?
So if we would do the 3% and keep insurance the exact same, I would be short about $75,000.
To keep it at the
To
same.
keep it at the same level.
Yeah.
But I,
We'd have to ask for 75,000.
correct. But we can do the rates where they will still see some increase in their bring home pay and be able to cover it in this budget. So I was able to do it as to keep the percentages that we currently are at for what we contribute, and they would see a slight increase in their insurance rates, but still see bring home from the raises. And we would have it covered without an extra ask to the county.
They'd still get a raise without losing money in the end.
Yes,
Or we can ask for $75,000.
correct.
But they're not gonna realize a 3% increase. in
No,
their
they will
pay.
not
They're
realize the 3%.
They're gonna realize 1%,
Yeah,
or
right.
0.5, or 2, or, right?
Depending on whether they're on health insurance, whether they have a family, whether.
Right.
Then there's a lot of
lot
people that don't even
parameters.
get the health insurance.
Right.
And that was what the staff survey showed us. We had about a third that were like, well, I don't even take the insurance, so what's my benefit if you're doing that for everyone else? And that's always the equality, versus the equity conversation, right?
That's the question I had, Shannon. So,
Yeah.
so how many employees roughly do we have? 180?
No, like 167.
And we have 115 that are taking insurance right
Correct.
now, currently taking insurance of some form.
Yes.
So kind of spread this, the option B would spread that out across everybody. Everybody's kind of paying for it versus just the people that need it. Is that my proper thinking? They would not get the raise.
It offsets the increase and it's a compromise, so there'll be a much smaller increase to your premiums per month and an increase that's applied to your salary. So you still see more coming home, even paying the difference in the salary. Those who aren't on the insurance at all will see the full 3%.
On option B.
Yes.
Okay, but at option A, they would see the full 6%. Those third of people
The ones that are not on any
that
insurance.
are not on any insurance, they would see the full 6%, but we would be hurting the other 2/3 quite a bit, potentially.
Right.
Except for the ones that are on the total, on the HSA.
Right, the high deductible plan.
And what is that high deductible? What is the
Right now, I believe it's 3,300.
3,300 for an individual? Any idea for family?
58,
Yeah, I think it is
5,800, I think.
It looks like the out-of-pocket maximum is 10,000, I think, for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I was wondering, yeah. And is that including prescriptions?
So
Or
you
prescriptions
have
extra.
to meet your deductible before percentages, or before your prescriptions will even be counted as well for the 20% or whatever it is on the tier.
Okay.
So everything is out of pocket upfront until you meet your deductible.
And we would only give $500 towards that on
That's
the
what we
HSA.
give currently, yes.
But a lot of the discounts still apply. They do right now. But so that's not to say you pay full price on all medications until you hit your deductible. That's not true.
Okay.
You do get your prescription discounts first. So, I'm on that too. So I'll speak from experience. High deductible plan, and generally I don't pay any more than my neighbor on the Key Advantage 500 for medications, regular ones that you go, to the doctor for and get amoxicillin for your kids or, anything else. I'm paying the same $10 or $8 or whatever it is. So I haven't seen that on medications.
And along those lines too, when you go to the doctor, they're gonna still send that through your insurance company for billing. So you get a reduced rate. It's not
Right.
what,
The market price is.
full-
Preventative care is still covered.
All
The-
of it,
Yeah,
Yeah. it's-
Preventative care is still
So all the well visits,
High.
Yeah.
that's the same, that's, federal law. It's
Yeah.
the other stuff.
The other stuff.
And our high deductible plan still has vision and dental.
It does.
Yes, same as the other
It's
two.
really a great thing.
We don't have any clue what the breakdown is as to how many people would qualify or would do better on that plan. I mean, you obviously can't force people, but.
No, but what we did was, One Digital designed a calculator tool for them so that they can put in real expenses. Here's what I'm dealing with, here's the medications I get per month, and they can calculate out if that's beneficial or not. For some of our families that did do that and switched over, have seen huge savings because they were throwing a premium out every month that they weren't really using other than prevention and, saving quite a bit. So it just kind of depends on your own situation. And so the calculator tool will help you figure that out.
My experience, having been on a plan, not here, but is that when you do have a big cost,
Accident.
your child is playing a sport and then they're going to get an MRI or something, those vendors are going to say, I'll knock 20% off right now if you pay right now, or I'll finance it for you at 0% over 12 months. So it's not as scary as it could be, but it's still very scary for people who have
Depending on what
not
you
been
have
in
for the
that.
bank.
And then the HSA is unmatched in investment vehicles in the US. I mean, it's no tax on money going in, no tax on interest, and no tax on money coming out for medical. It's the only thing you can do that's not taxed ever.
It's a huge chunk of money.
It is.
Yeah. Our support staff, 36, 42, whatever at best, thousand a year, it's a massive chunk of money. When Johnny breaks his leg playing soccer for the school, huge bill to come in. 20% off doesn't mean a lot if you don't have that period. I'm not being.
That's why you'd have to
I'm just-
mitigate the risk through HSA contributions somehow.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
A
it's-
pooled risk model.
It's a large chunk.
Interesting.
Somebody also said that there's some medications that aren't being covered with the healthcare that normally are.
Yes.
A lot of our GLP-1 medications that a lot of people are on now, they will no longer cover them with the new insurance plan date.
Any of these plans?
The
None
rates
of
would
them.
have been higher if they did,
Right.
right? I mean, that's the calculus.
Right.
And there's some other RX. They're making some big differences in RX. So a lot of it is driven by pharmaceuticals and what's happening across those, we were told. So it's just one of those things. It's a terrible situation. I've always said it's a racket. I feel like it's a racket. Can I say that? But throwing away health insurance premiums for something you're not getting the use out of, and it just.
Yeah, and one of the things we shared with the Board of Supervisors yesterday and earlier is the total cost of these packages.
Yeah.
So $35,000 a year total cost for a family. I mean, that's crazy, the amount that these cost. And then you're trying to figure out, how do I fairly share that with the employee and the employer? And then you compare that to salaries, and this is a huge part of overall compensation.
Shannon, do we have any historical over the past 10 years that you've been here that this has happened, where we've had these big rate increases like this, and have we passed it on to people, or have we decided to absorb it, and what was the response from employees?
Last year, we split the cost with employees. It was 18%. I believe the previous years, we absorbed most of it, and then we were at 0% for
6 years in a row.
6 years before
Yeah.
that, so we were kind of spoiled a little.
Yeah.
So this is
I mean,
This
even
is new.
the first year that I remember that we've
Back
We've
even
asked-
in, it's from 2000, we've always
our practice was to absorb the increase and pass it on to the taxpayer, basically. And I think over that time, we did a disservice to our staff because we would have been better off to give them an increase and a greater increase and let them pay some
Somebody move.
energy savings. Hey, I was thinking this too. It's probably good for us to make sure that this is on the table, depending upon, and I know it's chickens before they hatch, but as the money, if it does come from Richmond, we also, it looks like we are contributing less towards health than our neighbors. And so maybe we can do something to correct that if they give us something, some insane amount to manage, that we contribute and provide additional pay at the same time to try to level that out.
And another part is that we surely will have some new hires to make for the coming school year, and to be at the table saying we're offering 0 versus we offer something, like, I would rather work for the person who offers something to defray healthcare costs if I were coming into the education field.
I'm sure you're offering a lot, just
Yeah.
relative. So, correct me, you said you need to notify local choice in like June?
July.
July. So that's helpful. The county has to notify them in April 1. So, our board has kind of handled that. You do have luxury of having a little bit more time to digest these rates and then see how the rest of the budget process plays out.
Right.
I'm gonna borrow your microphone. So I'm not, yeah, really. So, I don't have to decide between option A and B tonight. It's for you guys to decide if you're gonna do that. But I guess the one question I had was, if I look at, there are 115 people, it looks like, covered by your insurance right now. And I think that I hear a third are support staff, or some, I don't know if there was a number tossed around.
A third of the survey responded, sorry.
Okay, our
Is that-
support staff. So you have 9 bins there. You have three policies with, nobody falls into those dependent bins. Those big numbers, the minus 260, minus 216, might be 1 or 2 people. I would want to say, how many people are we actually talking about? And trying to see if there's some way to mitigate that for those individuals. That we're not talking about a lot of people, and I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't care about that. I might just wonder if there are other ways to work on that for specific people instead of reworking the whole system for a couple of people that are going to be put out.
So there are 45 people who take the family plan,
Yeah.
and they're distributed across those 3. So out of those
But they're not all support staff.
500,
Right.
yeah, right, so some.
So so what percent are support? And it would just be nice to have a number of people. It might be options. I don't know if there are options to mitigate that for.
There's so many variables for the school board to sort out.
That's right. Good luck.
This is worse than trying to choose one for my own family.
Yep. So I think, I've heard a little bit about, because we'll need that direction and what we're communicating to staff, and I have a sort of impromptu meeting with bus drivers in the morning to alleviate some of their concern. But that's ultimately where I think after we ran all of these is where we landed too, is do the 3%, offset what we can, see what the state does with additional revenue that then we can put either toward the rest of the health insurance increases or the additional salary
both.
increases or both, it depends. Right,
So your current budget isn't estimating what Richmond's going to send you, so you haven't really already spent it. It's there, I mean, if they send more.
Ours is the
You
most up-to-date version that we have from Youngkin.
Okay.
He proposed that. So what we're seeing is not super significant in any case, unless so we're not, but the House budget bill had $400 million invested for flexible funding for schools. If that happens, that's great. It gives us about $142,000, I think, which would help offset those pieces we were talking about. And that would come in through our basic aid formula through state funding. The other areas that was coming in was the at-risk add-on, special education, and your support cap, that cap on all support staff that it knows, the state already knows it does not fund your standards of quality, especially around support. They put a cap on that, so they've been slowly lifting that cap. They're still not there yet in this budget, but they're putting more emphasis trying to close that gap. So those are the areas that we see if there'll be additional revenue, that's where it will come.
And that budget has to be done by May, the state?
They can't do a skinny budget this year.
Theoretically. So they have, they're called for the session, I think the day after the veto session, so it's like the 23rd of April.
April, yeah, by April 30.
Yeah, so
Okay.
they're, working on it somewhere, trying to agree on things between now and then, and they'll land on the 23rd with something that's fully baked, and we'll not know at all how it got there, and we'll all say, okay, that's what we're getting.
I was on a call with Richmond this morning, 2 different offices, and it sounds like the major hang-up for them is the consumption tax on data centers, which is the real point that they're trying to reconcile, and the other points they're sort of agreeing pretty easily on, so
Yeah,
that's
so
what's taking
they're weighing,
additional-
eliminate add
Yeah.
sales tax back, but then, that's too big. So if we don't mess with our guarantee for the sales tax,
Yep.
we can add a new consumption tax to try to get at the data centers without taking away their tax-free.
Yep. You got it.
All right. This is our opportunity to ask questions. Our goal, by the way, we have to get a budget across the street by the end of March. And we put on the agenda, the board has an opportunity to approve the budget tonight, that it might move on. Yes, Chris?
Support staff, is anybody outside of teachers?
So,
Bus drivers?
Support staff, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, custodians.
well, what you're talking about is classified staff.
Oh.
Professional support staff can be your assistant superintendent, anyone that's not a teacher, so
Oh, yeah,
support
that's
staff, so we
separate.
would have to really
That's
narrow
separate.
down. And the career ladder we talked about can help do that a lot better than what we
Yeah.
have now, where you can say level 1, level 2 support only, or level, so that'll give you a conversation point that way, would help
Good, good.
differentiate.
That's good. Good question.
So Gail,
It's a good question.
it's gonna affect Gail. The woman I'm sitting beside.
Right, any other questions? Anybody? Good.
Going to public
I
comment.
guess so, you got it?
I got it.
All right.
All right. At this time, we're going to go into public comment. Anyone wishing to speak, please be recognized. Come up and give us your name and your district. And we're going to keep public comment to 3 minutes. Anyone wishing to speak, please be, yes, ma'am.
I wish there was more public here. I'm Betsy Deedle, I'm with the Wakefield District, and I just wanted to put out there a thought about this 1.2 million that we're all hoping is going to be there after the end of the year, and the concern about how to get this county to get behind that. And I don't know, I know you guys have been working very hard on the immediate issues, and I should add, I really appreciate it. I think this session has been, as have the other ones, been very instructive from a public's perspective. But I'm wondering if there isn't some way to think about the role of some kind of a town meeting that could take the pulse of people after we get done with the budget process, to try and bring people along, because I think what we're going to have to swallow with the budget approval is going to make people so anti-tax that no matter how we spin it, people are going to say, no, no way, I don't want to have any more taxes, and I don't understand this whole thing with the sales tax and the county approving it, and that we actually will benefit. So I suggest, when this is all done, if we can talk about some way to get the public more engaged in that discussion, it would be really, really good. And I really want to say, I love this setup. I love the intimacy, the transparency. I'd love to see that screen about 7 times bigger, And maybe that's something for another day, but thank you for all you all do. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm James Deakins from Sprayville in the Piedmont District. Got a whole lot of questions, and I guess I should have been to more of the meetings, but reading through things.
Can you make sure, so we can hear you good?
I apologize.
Thanks.
Okay.
Reading through some of the things, I guess I should, my wife's a teacher. I have a kid here, I've graduated here, and just seeing things in this county as a whole, where things are going, I think it's really sad, some of the teachers we've lost over teachers' wages. I think that's definitely a priority. I mean, definitely to our family, obviously, with my wife being a teacher, but also, you know, the mass exodus that we had last year with teachers, being able to retain teachers. I know there's a lot of teachers here that are approaching that retirement age, and if these teachers retire and the new teachers coming in are at this lower earning, you know, why are they gonna come to Rappahannock to teach instead of Callback or Fauquier? Something else, just an idea that I mean, riding around the county, and I guess this would be more directed toward the Board of Supervisors instead of the school board. We're always looking for tax money. We've had issues with school enrollment dropping. And a lot of that reason is because of the county itself has turned into a tourist center and weekend vacation property. Something to think about is looking into the land use tax rates in our county, and the ones that are taking advantage of land use that aren't using the land for land use, that could make up a good portion of the shortfall for the schools and not hit the average homeowner with the tax money, as far as tax expenses, county taxes. I can give you a brief example. I know for a fact, you know, my son takes care of the guy's lawn. Fellow recently moved into the county. He's of age. All of his kids are of age. No kids in school. It's a weekend property. It's 20 acres. He actually pays someone to cut hay off of it as opposed to paying taxes. How is that right to our school or to the rest of the county? You know, I understand land use for those that are using the land. Obviously, Mr. Deneau, you're very familiar with that, and Mr. Settle, all the cows around you. You know, these people are actually farmers and actually doing land use. But all these weekend homes that are taking advantage of our tax system, why hasn't that been adjusted, you know, addressed and changed? I think that would solve a whole lot of questions and problems that are going on right now. Is there someone in the county, I don't know if anybody can answer, I know the land use is supposed to be monitored. There's supposed to be a tonnage quantity if the land's only being used for hay, or a number of head if it's being grazed. Is there anybody in the county that monitors this on a routine basis? Yes, no? Yes, someone does, or?
She's the chair, and the rule is that we don't respond during public comment, just so everyone has a chance to comment.
I
But
apologize.
no, but when it's over, maybe we can just tell you what the board went through recently on this very question. Yeah, once you're finished, so.
Okay, that was my biggest concern. I mean, to me, that would help the whole way around, keep our general Rappahannock people that live here and deal with the county on a daily basis, as opposed to those who come out to go for a hike on the weekends and have a field party where, you know, I don't mind making money off of them when they're out here, but they're not helping our county. You know, they're of no benefit to the school enrollment, so the numbers are down, so the school doesn't acquire as much money. And then they're also not spending their money here during the week. They're not living here and actually, in my opinion, part of the county. So that's all I had. I appreciate it.
We'll get back to you. Yes, ma'am.
Karen Hunt, Jackson District. I wasn't going to say anything, but there have been some good comments. I'll just reiterate what Ms. Deedle said. I think sometimes, and it doesn't just necessarily have to do with the 1% sales tax if that comes to fruition, but we seem to have an issue communicating to people. Rumors sometimes run rampant. I don't know exactly what the solution is, but the idea of a town hall or facts in newspapers or some way to get it, whether it's trying to explain to people why we need to build a courthouse or why we need to do funds, so there's that. And to just kind of maybe help with some issues with the last speaker, you cannot pick and choose how you implement real estate assessments or land use taxes based on whether someone is a full-time or part-time or whether they have students or don't. Yes, things are monitored. We just sat through a discussion a couple of weeks ago with Mary Graham, our Commissioner of Revenue. Many of these things are set by the Virginia Assembly. I'm concerned that there is maybe a misperception by some people that somehow being in land use is a detriment. There are many, many benefits to this, and not just our farmers, but there are environmental benefits. There are cost benefits. Residential costs a lot more in tax dollars than agriculture. We've had a long saying in this county about cows don't go to school. So after I finish speaking, I'm sure the board can address some of what we heard, but I get concerned when people start talking about trying to undo land use because it is very protective for our county. Even people who are part-time owners out here pay real estate taxes if they are providing their property for a local person to be able to generate hay for an amount of livestock head that they cannot do on property that they own. A lot of property is leased, or there are these arrangements back and forth. And so, not that there isn't a valid concern that was raised, but I think sometimes we're looking at these things in a vacuum, and I just want to make sure that there's more information out there to help educate. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, not seeing any hands, I will close public comment.
The next thing on the agenda is an opportunity for the school board to adopt a budget. Is there a member of the board that would like to make a motion? We adopt a budget as currently presented, which would include option B of the benefit plus 3% for all. Bottom line of $16,653,909, which is a level funding from the county. Is there a motion?
I move that we adopt option B.
We have a motion from Ms. Bynum. Is there a second?
We don't ask, we'll never know. We don't ask for 75, we'll never know.
For 75. Oh, additional?
Been telling kids all week, you miss every shot you don't take, so.
75 was an estimate. It's not a real number.
It's close, but it's not a real
Some
number.
of these are real numbers.
Cool, yeah, but typically when we create a budget, it's not a roundabout $75,000 kind of estimate. And honestly, we don't have to do this tonight. We could meet again before the end of the month and make a final decision, as long as before the end of the month.
I just have a hard time with people that are making $22,000 a year, telling them, hey, your insurance is gonna go up $6,000. Oh, it's only gonna go up $3,000. Your raise is nothing. Have a nice day. I hope you come back next year. The onus is on these folks to figure out where the revenue comes from, but we are not doing ourselves any favor long term.
It didn't seem to me that 75,000 is a Band-Aid on a broken leg. So
This is my first time, so bear with me. if we vote on this tonight, and this is what we then take to the county,
Yes.
and the county then can approve or come back and say, no, or yes, or no. And so, do we go back and forth quite a few times now? Or is this,
Well, we don't go back and
Ideally, we
forth. Basically, what happens is we send a number across the street, and then we get an answer back, whether it was approved or it's either approved or a lesser number.
Right, so, there's a budget of need expressed by the superintendent, and then ultimately the school board will pass that to the Board of Supervisors by March 31st. The Board of Supervisors is going to hold a public hearing for the entire budget, schools, everything.
Right.
That'll be towards the end of April. After hearing from the citizens, which will include teachers, parents, taxpayers who are neither of those, they'll have to then formulate what they think is best for the big picture. And at that time, that budget that the board adopts will have a definitive number for the schools. It might be 10.5 million, it could be a different number. And whatever that different number is, if it is different, the school board then has to figure out how to cut the cloth to fit or add extra cloth on if it were more than 10.5.
and this, if I'm understanding correctly, is also obviously made up lots of numbers that we don't know about, but we do our best. That's what a budget is, right?
Right.
But worst case scenario budget, we're thinking.
Yes, definitely.
We're hoping, and we're hoping for potential from the state, more potential from the state. Yes, and then also hoping that maybe we might come back with potentially some better healthcare numbers, possibly,
Potentially.
maybe, but this is the worst case scenario. And Chris, you're saying if we added 75,000 on, you feel like we could still give them the raise and cover the health insurance?
5 to 100, if we don't ask, the answer is guaranteed to be no. They send it back to us minus the 100,000, we are at the same place we are exactly right now, but we tried. And at least I can look Gail in the face and everybody else and be like, you know what? I shot my shot. I know how you feel. I have declined medical care in the past because I'm not taking the option at 3% or 30% to finance my MRI. I got bills to pay and kids who have needs. I walked out and then they were mystified. But I'm not paying. I can't. I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
So I at least want to try. Do I want to raise taxes exponentially forever? No. We need to find a revenue source for the county. But I also have to look Gail in the eye and several other people. Sorry, I keep pointing at you. And several other people. It's not a handful of folks. It's support staff. It's a lot of people. She's meeting tomorrow with people. You got to look them in the eye and be like, this sucks to be you guys.
Correct. And
I'll withdraw my motion, and I'd like to propose that we ask for a transfer of 11.5. 11,000,005.
Well,
That-
we have to vote on a bottom line
Yeah,
for our budget.
that's what the county transfer, instead of 10.5, we could ask for 11.5. Is that your shot, Chris? I want to make your, I want to try that shot. You got
It is way more,
that was a lot more than Chris.
Yeah.
If I could do my math right.
So I would say the best thing for us to do is
have
that
another work session.
we send our CFO back to her office to do a different calculation and come back to us, and that we will meet another time to make a motion on the bottom line.
I would also.
We basically got two motions with no seconds. And I think at this point, the best thing to do is to recalculate so that the number we do have, we understand. So we're going to have to meet again before the end of the month to make sure that that happens.
So just that I'm clear, I'm recalculating at 3% across the board with
3%.
us absorbing the insurance.
I think the goal was that nobody is impacted.
what's our budget now?
10 or
Our
And
budget.
ask.
What are we asking?
We're 10,000, 10 million,
10,000,005 is the
5, 6,
local ask, but
561 and 192.
160.
Okay, so 10,750.
Now, those are pretty solid numbers. When we did, based on Governor Youngkin's budget, when we figured out the amount of the total cost of the salary increase plus the health insurance rate premium increase, at the 6 and 3, that's where the rates that we showed you kind of landed. the 3% across the board, if we pulled that back, and applied the VRS reduction, just like we did in all of this, we ended up being able to do it at the same level that we do right now, but it would cost about 75,000. That is a real number. It's about 75,000 short.
Saying
Yeah.
750, knowing full well they're not going to approve it, but if it comes back with even some kind of bump, it balances that out.
I just would prefer
If it-
if it was a real number.
If the state comes back with more.
Yeah, well.
I'm not trying to be offensive.
No, it's going to be, she can create what the real number is. It's close to 75K. And I would rather produce a budget that was based on some calculation rather than a roundabout number.
So our counterparts know we're talking ballpark 100,000.
Well, and if we're going into a work session, I would like to see, at the end of the last session, we looked at the possibility of something that's not the 6%, but there'd be like a 3 and a 4 or something. We had asked for per percentage for teachers, what would that cost? So if we're going to get detailed, I would really like to be able to at least entertain, because I'm sure that some of our teachers are disappointed that we're totally taking that little boost off. So if we could just get a bunch of those numbers, if we're doing it, and we can figure that out.
And I would like to propose, if at all possible, we could have a meeting that has Missy possibly zoomed in, just because this is a big decision. Is that a way to get her
Yeah, we can
also
zoom her in.
involved?
Yeah, we can zoom
I'd
her
like to hear her input versus just the four of us. Is that, we can wheel her in, exactly. We can all go to her house and have.
She can participate, but that's up to her.
Okay, up there. And then I just have one other question, Shannon, I hope it's not offensive or anything like that. I'm very impressed that you're able to keep it level and we're able to, not ask any more for this year right now. That's the current budget. And that seems to be a big priority. Obviously, we would all love that if we didn't have to ask for money. Can you explain a little more of that rationale? Because it looks like every year we have gone up to $500,000 to $600,000 in the past 2 years. So what's the rationale for you in wanting to not add on another 100,000 or so?
No, that's a great question. So this year, we initiated very early budget talks with the chairman and the chairwoman, and had an initial budget talk at the beginning of the year around the bus purchases, and right as soon as, I guess last summer, before we even began school, they started. Then we have a budget quarterly roundtable meeting where we just, anything about budget coming up that we can walk through, any challenges, ask questions, build transparency around. But it was pretty clear from those meetings and from the supervisors as a whole that at best, we were going to get level funded. So if that's at best, then that's where we were starting. So if I knew that, and that seemed to be the consensus of the supervisors at that time, so that's what we built. Because if at best we were getting level, then that's,
And can I chime in
Sure.
at this point? So I think that at best came from me at a recent meeting. And I hear it and I feel it. I mean, goodness gracious, I got, mad and emotional at the very beginning of this meeting. But I see our county, I see what we're doing, I see a three-legged stool, and I see the legs of that stool of our county are fire and rescue, the schools, and our county in its whole, and I kind of look at that as the county employees and the county buildings and the courthouses. And it is apparent, that the Schneider Electric people opened up with, I wish I could write down exactly what she said. I mean, I wish I could say exactly what she said, but she said something to the effect of, we're going to tell you what is involved in bringing your building up to 21st century standards. She said up to 21st century standards. She didn't say, we're going to tell you how to make this the state-of-the-art school campus. And that really applies to everything across the board right now in our county, our courthouse, and our, we have to take a really hard look at our fire and rescue system. And all of that is, they are competing priorities. It's because if one of those legs on this three-legged stool, if one is broken, what happens to that stool? Like it collapses. So I say that knowing it, because I feel like I'm one of the biggest cheerleaders of our school system. You know, I can't claim to be the biggest one in the county, but I think, you know, I'm a pretty big cheerleader for our school system. So it hurt me to say that a couple of months ago. So I appreciate the work and the effort that Dr. Grinsley and the school board and Ms. Witt worked on this. That said to me, when they brought this to us, or tonight, it says to me that they see the other two legs of this stool in our county. And I hear you, though. I hear you loud and clear. You know, I'm the queen of anecdotal stories. You know, I was a single mom, like making, gosh, like less than $30,000 a year, finding insurance. You know, I've spent times being self-insured. I rolled the dice a couple of times and carried no insurance. So I know, I know the fear, and I really do hate this. But right now, with those competing priorities in this county, I feel like this is the best way that we can really spread the pain, because there's going to be a little more weight on all three of these legs that I keep referencing. And I just really appreciate the work that you did, and I mean, what you said loud and clear was, I hear you, and I'm going to do my best. And I don't really know what else to say now. The end.
Madam Chair, if I
Yes, sir.
first of all, Ms. Comer, I didn't know you were mad earlier.
Oh, yes.
You said something about biting your tongue, so I apologize, but I did note that fiscal restraint or being fiscally conservative then crosses a line into problematic deferred maintenance. So I hope you heard that part, because I don't want you to be mad at me. I like you and all my colleagues a lot. One thing, I'm just going to extend your metaphor a little bit. So we have a three-legged stool, and the foundation on which that stool rests ultimately, as Mr. Rubin pointed out, is revenue, and it's our job to go find revenue. And so for the umpteenth time, I will say publicly that there is unrealized revenue sitting out there in our community. And if anyone subscribes to Rappahannock News tomorrow, you can flip to page 19 and you'll see my letter to the editor about the town of Washington, and yet another call for the Washington town government, where over $30 million a year is spent by visitors, not sharing much revenue at all with Rappahannock County and putting it into our general fund. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't follow on your comments that when we are putting pressure on the school to accept level funding, when we're scrambling to find money to support our largely volunteer fire and rescue system, when we are being forced by a judicial system to build a new courthouse for a very significant amount of revenue to rest in the hands of 100 people in a county of 7,300. I think we would all be remiss if we didn't begin showing up at town council meetings and asking a fundamental question: why is it that we're out here scrambling year after year for pennies when there are $30 million in visitor expenditures landing in a town of 100 people, and little or none of that money taxed on the shoulders of visitors comes into the county general fund? There is no excuse. There is no rational explanation. And I find it astounding that we sit in these meetings and great citizens like Ms. Deedle Ms. Hunt and others who show up time after time and say, find the money so the school can do more, pay a bill to Schneider Electric to catch up with this deferred maintenance. We say these things repeatedly. We talk about them repeatedly. Where are we going to find additional revenue? And the answer is about 4 minutes down the road in the town of Washington. And that burden is placed on visitors, ideally. And I would love to hear a rational explanation about why that request from me on our board is an absurd one. It's not. I think anyone with logic and reason can conclude that that is an absolutely reasonable request. And I think we need to have a serious conversation about that because your three-legged stool will fall if we don't find additional revenue, and it will fall if we continue to overtax the people who actually live here.
All right.
Can I ask one?
Go.
Good
All right.
microphone. Can I just understand, assuming we may get a different number, what that $75,000 was?
That would go toward the health insurance premium increase to hold stable the employer contribution rate that we currently have, and would hold those rates stable, so those employees would not see an increase in their premium.
It would have the school board absorbing the entirety of the
21.8%.
insurance increase.
Okay, entirety of the insurance increase, it would keep 6% for teachers and 3% for support?
3%.
It would just be 3%, no, and 75,000 for the school board absorbing the insurance increases, okay?
Correct.
So everybody realizes a pay increase?
3%.
Okay, 3%, okay. Thanks.
So that's, thanks for explaining that. So that's clear for you, right? And so what I'm gonna propose at this point is we have a work session for the school board on the 30th of March, which is a Monday. Because I'm out of town until the 30th of March. So, if we met on Monday, the 30th, at 6:30 at the school board office?
That's, you're out of town until the 30th?
Yep.
Come up tonight?
Yep.
30th that's our spring break.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know how many
can't-
of us
we have-
are all gonna be in town then.
Well, we have
But
to
we'd have to
deliver
do it.
something by,
Good to tack on some money.
I mean,
You can
We meet
still,
later
may
this
I
week?
make a suggestion?
unless we do it
Might make
tomorrow night.
easier. Or, so, it looks very likely that the state is going to provide additional funding in some
Right.
mechanism. The budget you have now takes care of, I heard option B is sort of an area
Yes.
to at least give a 3 and absorb some of the health insurance as the best we can. And then
Yes.
we can still apply any additional revenue. There's things that we still don't quite know with that revenue. We can still go to the supervisors and ask at a later time with a letter for a supplemental appropriation for a difference in gap funding later, which we may end up having to do with, depending on how the language turns out for this, the bonus payment anyway.
Anyway,
So it might be easier on, everybody to be
so just go ahead and,
aligned with the school board budget to allow our counterparts in the county to be able to do some sausage making of their own, knowing that that's where the baseline is. We can still take care of compromising with employees and meeting the difference where we can, anticipating additional state revenue will come to offset it even
It's very
further.
likely.
Potentially the entire amount,
Yeah.
without causing any more strain and additional.
And I would just suggest last year is a good example of a scenario where the board adopted a budget and transfer that was higher than, where you were at this point. And so that avenue is possible.
You good?
no, not yet.
Not yet.
So, so given that, really, and I don't want to just do a fictional 75K. It seems not what we usually do.
And by the end of April, you'll have an idea of how much revenue and everything, and we could go back
And
at
then
in our April or May meeting and say,
fix it then.
here's some issues that we see for coming, and then bring that to the supervisors as well later.
So this would be what we adopt, but it could be amended in the next few months.
You'll have to anyway. with
Yep,
your-
it's going to
this
have to
is
be changed
proposed.
anyway.
Okay.
We'll want to see it at the end of April.
All right. Well, that was a good chat. Here's how this is gonna roll. I'm gonna make a motion that we adopt a bottom line budget for $16,653,909, which implements option B, benefit option, and 3% for all staff, to be revisited at a later date, but that's what we're going to adopt. I have a motion from Mr. Mills. Is there a second? It's gonna die on the floor. All right, I guess we'll be meeting on the 30th of March. The motion dies.
Why would I?
Hey, if we can't, I mean, the other option is we meet before the 30th without me and Missy, potentially.
It's just the three of us.
So are we available on the 30th of March to come back together?
I could make it on the 30th.
Yep,
Maybe virtually, like Missy.
we can do virtual.
Okay. I can do virtual for sure.
Could you make it on the 30th, Chris?
Is there any better date during that week that people are available that, no, it's all
Well,
good?
I mean, we have to have it done by the 31st.
31st, yeah, that's right, it would have to be.
So the only other option is tomorrow night, which we don't have enough time to announce.
But a date at which you would be available electronically, that the others would
Yep.
be available
Oh,
in person.
yeah. I guess
Are you
I could
are
do
you
that.
available
Yeah,
electronically?
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah,
You are gonna be on a cruise.
it's possible.
Next Wednesday, the 25th, looks like a great night.
30th, I'll be back.
But if they do it before then.
Wednesday the 25th?
Yeah, the 30th, I'll be okay.
Check your calendars.
I could do Wednesday the 25th.
You're not.
I can't.
You can't.
Yeah.
Good. So tell us when you're around.
I mean, the 30th is probably your best.
All right,
Yeah.
we're gonna target the 30th. And,
What about you, Chris? Are you
that's what we're gonna do. That'll be a work session.
available the 30th?
We've got 3 motions that failed, so we're just gonna, call it a night and, move on to the next agenda item.
6th, yeah.
Thank you, sir. All right, Ms. Comer was kind enough to add the resolution by the Board of Supervisors of Rappahannock County opposing mandatory collective bargaining legislation. This was, I think, partially provided by Virginia Association of Counties, so I'm hoping there will be many counties doing the same resolution. And I hope I don't have to read it out loud, but there is, paragraph 3 has Rappahannock-specific numbers in it that I just want to point out to my board.
Yep.
But I would entertain a motion.
I'll put forward a motion that we adopt the resolution as presented, which opposes mandatory collective bargaining legislation rooted in House Bill 1263 and Senate Bill 378, as it's presented in the addendum item that Ms. Comer added at the outset of our meeting.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, this is a roll call vote. Ms. Comer,
Aye.
Mr. Geno,
Aye.
Mr. Settle,
Aye.
Mr. Whitson,
Aye.
and I also. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that. Is there a motion for the school board to adjourn?
I move that the school board adjourns.
All right, we have a second.
Second.
Ms. Geno, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no? We're adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you very much,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Sorry,